Chairman Barnes, you guys are live.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Welcome everyone to this EED committee briefing. I think most people watching this probably know what's happening here, but just to outline it for any that don't, this is an issue with leases at our Medco run properties. I think I just lost my. Sorry, I think I'm having. I'm back. Sorry about that, everybody. At our Medco owned properties, wherein, we had some students who were trying to make good public health decisions and stay in their bubbles and distance learn as our public health professionals were asking of them. At the same time, stuck in these leases that they had signed contracts for with Medco on land and property owned by the universities. So we had been working all summer and into the fall to ask the universities and Medco to come up with some kind of resolution for these students to figure this out. We set this briefing up to see sort of where we were in the process. And I think I'm happy to report that the parties, and I'll thank Dr. Pines and Dr. Schatzel and Mr. Brennan, have been working diligently over the last few months and have, I know in the case of Towson, have actually signed an agreement. And I think in the case of the University of Maryland are imminent, have actually reached an agreement, and I'm hopeful we'll be signing it. So this briefing has turned into more of an opportunity for you all to tell us about the agreements and the work that you've done. Because Towson has signed their agreement, I think I'll start with you, Dr. Schatzel. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair Barnes and Vice Chair Solomon, as well as Vice Chair Jackson, others on the committee. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to be here. This all started, frankly, is the fact that when we started taking a look at the spring semester, as well as looking at the plans for the fall and the events of the fall, that there's not many times where a president loses sleep, meaning me. Having raised two kids and been in business for 20 years, we're used to being able to deal with challenges. But when we were looking at the dedensification requirements for the spring, we wanted to make sure that every single room was a single for the students. And that's what really started this conversation, was an issue of health and safety of the students. And I'm really pleased that we were able to resolve that, as well as to resolve the issues for the students in this past fall. I have with me our Vice President of Administration and Finance, Ben Lowenthal. And I think Ben would be happy to give some details of the transaction that we were able to complete and the deal we were able to sign with regard to Medco and to Mr. Brennan.
That'd be great, Mr. Lowenthal.
Thank you, President Schatzel. Thank you, Chair Barnes and Vice Chair Solomon and Jackson and the entire committee. So Towson University, as the President has already described, has really been very concerned throughout the pandemic for our students' safety. And what we have done, despite approximately $75 million of losses of revenue in the current fiscal year due to the pandemic, we've reached agreement with Medco. We have approximately slightly over 1,000 beds in 3 properties that Medco has on Towson University's property. And the agreement essentially guarantees that we have 1 student per bedroom and no more than 2 students per bathroom. We have properties known as Paycon-Tubman houses. They're going to reduce their capacity to approximately 50% in order to accommodate that lower density. And in some cases, Medco will release some residents from their licenses if they requested cancellation from both fall and spring. And there are a number of detailed scenarios there, but that's the general sense of it. And those who made payment, whether it's full payment or partial payment, will be given credit for those payments to any future semester that they will be in a Medco property. So in a very broad sense, that's pretty much what the agreement does.
All right, thank you, Dr. Schatzel, Mr. Lowenthal. Mr. Brennan, do you have anything to add to the agreement from what's been outlined? You're on mute, sir.
Ben did a good job of recapping the essence of the agreement.
I will say, we thoroughly understand the university's desire and need to put this together. We too have a lot of concern with the safety and these students. I mean, they are our future. So we want them to be around to pay my retirements and into my old age. So the agreement, it did take a while to put together. There's a lot of complexities and details that went through this, but I appreciate the university's perseverance and willingness to work along, and I feel good. We're going to be in a good place. I did want to let you know, we had a lot of students on campus, and we paid quite close attention to infection rates and what have you. And I think it's worthy to cite that students were much more responsible than I think a lot of elected officials that I talked to early on thought they were going to be. And the fact of the matter is, these students want to be on campus. They want to get out of their parents' living room. But I think we need to do it in a safe fashion. And I believe the way we've structured this, we're going to squeak by. Everybody's putting up a little bit of money into the equation. And we are really hoping by the fall of 21, this is well behind us and we're going to get back to normal and have life in the grand old way it used to be. So
yeah, that's all of our hopes. So I want to thank the three of you, Dr. Schatzel, Dr. Lowenthal, and Mr. Brennan for working together on this. We'll look forward to seeing how it meets out. Are there questions from the committee for any of our Towson representatives on the Towson plan? Delegate Forbes, our Towson rep.
Thank you all, Dr. Schatzel and Mr. Brennan and Mr. Lowenthal for briefing us on this. I just had one question after you released your thing, and it came from a parent whose freshman had moved into Peka House for 1 week and then returned the key and left. Is there any relief for that family?
We actually took a look at, and that's why it took us so long to be able to go through this. There's so many unique circumstances, such as you're describing, that we really wanted to go through each and every case. I think, Ben, you can be able to answer it broadly, but we're also looking at them as a case-by-case basis. But Ben, do you want to provide what it would do?
Yeah, there should be relief for that student. Any student that stayed for that short period of time is basically considered as if they requested cancellation. And then it's going to know whether they made payment or didn't make payment. If they did not make payment and they're in Pecos and Tubman, I think you mentioned they're in Pecos, so then they would be released per the agreement from their contract for the fall, for the spring, depending on their decision. If they had made payment, then they could come back, stay in the same property in the spring, or if there's no room in that property, and to speak to this, they would relocate them to Millennium, which has a little bit of extra room. Again, 1 student per room, and then they would get a credit for the payments that they made in the fall towards the spring semester.
Thank you so much for that explanation. I really appreciate it. And I appreciated all the work that everyone did to come together to give these families and these students some relief. And I love your backgrounds of the new science building.
We coordinated. Thank you.
We get both the front and the back view. Lovely. Thank you. Happy holidays to you all.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Delegate Forbes. Any other questions for this panel? Vice Chair Jackson.
Good afternoon, everyone. Look, I'd just like to say, you know, on behalf of our entire university system and the General Assembly and our families, look, this is just a testament to you know, who we all are during this tough time. You know, just all of this is challenging for each and every one of us. And I'd like to commend you all for the work you've done. You've brought much relief to families. And I agree with Mr. Brennan and others that, you know, our young students want to be on campus. I have had 3 grandchildren in my house right now who want to be on their respective campuses. Even the 18-month-old wants to be, you know, where he wants to be. But I think I just like to commend everyone for working together and for our chairman taking the lead as we move forward. So we still have much work to do, but this is progress, and proud to be a part of it.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Okay, well, I don't see any. Listen, Dr. Schatzel, Mr. Lowenthal, I think you can sign off, and I'll just echo, listen, I know that this was difficult and this is some pain for our universities, for Medco. It's probably not even a perfect solution for the families, but it's a good one. It's something that I think is going to work for everyone in difficult times. And I just commend you in coming forward to get this done. So I thank you all, and don't feel that you're welcome to stay, but you don't feel the need to hang on if you don't need to, if you have somewhere to be. With that, Dr. Pine, welcome.
Thank you.
Great to see you.
Thank you, Chairman Barnes, and thank you, Vice Chair Solomon and Vice Chair Jackson and members of the committee. We were in a similar situation, but let's take us back to mid-March. And this is where I want to commend Medco and Bob Brennan and his team. All of us had to pivot like within 1 week, literally shut down our campuses, vacate our campuses, and obviously release all of our students from the residence halls, from our P3s. And to Medco's credit, they took a leadership on that and were willing to dip into their reserves to make that possible in that emergency situation when all of us were extremely afraid about what the virus might do to our citizens, to our community. And we pivoted literally in 1 week. And I commend Bob Brennan and his team, and of course, all of our University of Maryland administrators and staff and faculty and students. As we came into the fall, similar to President Schatzel, we developed a very comprehensive plan that kept the safety and well-being of all of our students, our faculty, and our staff at the highest priority. And that plan was implemented. We implemented a hybrid learning plan. We de-densified our residence halls and our P3s, and we were able to have a fully complementary semester. And as Bob mentioned, he's right, these young people want to come back. And he's also right that I got so many messages telling me that our young people were not going to follow behaviors. And I'm so proud of these young people. And I think we need to say something about that. We didn't give them, because we've been 17 and 18 years old before, and maybe we didn't give our own selves credit, but these young people really wanted to be here and they wanted to keep themselves safe. And as you saw through how everything we evolved at University of Maryland College Park, the flagship university, which is suffering a $281 million shortfall for fiscal 21, we kept everyone safe. We had some of the lowest numbers of the type of campus that we have, a large research one institution. We were at the lowest of the lowest tier of our peer institutions as it related to positive cases on our campus. So we're very proud of that. So what I would like to do now is turn it over to Vice President of Administration and Finance, Carlo Colella, who will go through the details of the almost signed agreement with Medco.
All right, Carlo, it's great to see you, my good friend. See you all the time around campus. Welcome.
Good to see you, Chair Barnes, Vice Chair Solomon, members of the committee. Thank you, President Pines. And my briefing is actually quite easy because we are very consistent with our colleagues at Towson in terms of the agreement that we've been able to reach in principle with Bob. And I also want to thank Bob and his team for being terrific partners with us throughout this crisis. As President Pines already mentioned, in the spring, when this was new to all of us and everybody moved out of an abundance of caution and with rapid speed, Medco followed suit with us and returned a great amount of revenue, which I think in aggregate, and Bob can correct me if I don't have the numbers exactly, it's about a $10 million revenue reduction for letting all those students out of their leases in the spring and summer. As President Pines has already said, we worked very, very hard on this campus. We de-densified the campus substantially. And yet, even with that de-densification, we have 4,200 students in our own residence halls. We have a hybrid learning environment with a portion of our classes in person, but much of it online. And I'm reminded by a comment that our Student Government Association president said about how he was, his experience on campus. He said, every day feels like a Sunday morning, meaning that there was so little activity. And To build upon what President Pine said about our students, I could not be more proud of how responsible they have been. And as a resident here in the community who frequently walks through the neighborhoods of College Park, I am amazed that even when they're walking outdoors by themselves, they're wearing their Terrapin Strong masks. So I think hats off to President Pines, the team that he's assembled, our partnership with the city, with the county, with the state, to really take this very seriously. And because of that, we've got the outstanding positivity rates that President Pines referred to, and our survey of our students for their experience in the fall. We've had countless amounts of feedback saying how, while it was different, they really enjoyed their experience. So we're very, very fortunate for how well our students have done. And we're pleased to join our partners at Medco and in fashion substantially similar to Towson, that those students who requested cancellation in the fall will get credit for the fall leases and be able to apply that to the future. If they made rent payments in the fall, those rent payments will be applied to the future. One of the things that's a little bit different between College Park and Towson is all of our 3,000 beds in the various Medco properties are all one person per bedroom. So we don't have the shared bedroom environment that exists in some of the Towson properties, and frankly, some of our on-campus residences. So we are, we're very pleased, and it is a sacrifice that everybody is participating in, Medco, the university, and the families. But we're pleased to, although it's financially challenging, to be able to work and try and mitigate this impact to those students.
Well, congratulations on an agreement in principle. When do you think we might expect it signed, Carlisle or Dr. Pines?
Within the week, I would say.
Okay.
Bob, we've had, we're very, very close. We just sandpapering, I think, is the term that the drafters.
Oh, he's got it. Okay.
I've got mine right here too. So
All right, good.
we're very, very close.
Seeing is believing. Good. All right. Well, we'll look forward to seeing it finally signed, and please update the committee when that happens. And likewise, I congratulate you all on working together and coming up with a solution that I hope will work for everyone, and all the work that you've done. And Dr. Pines, I know you've only been on the job for months and right in the middle of a pandemic. So congratulations on to a great start and in a tough, challenging time.
Thank you, Chair.
So with that, any questions from this committee? Yes, Vice Chair Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would echo his comments. Dr. Pines, trial by fire this year so far. Hopefully, easier waters to sail through next year. I did have just a quick question, and Carl, thank you for your work as well on this. I know the College Park situation is a little bit different than Towson's because you have seniors who are living in that housing, and my understanding was that Towson was mostly was all underclassmen. How, obviously, without seeing the agreement yet, are you working in the seniors who obviously won't be around, next year conceivably to use the credit?
So and each individual case is being looked at individually. Those seniors who requested cancellation in the fall but are able to be here in the spring will take the fall credit and apply to the spring. There's also the possibility of, already in the contracts, is the ability to sublease. And we have been working very hard to find successors where we can. And finally, the possibility of transferring that credit to another party if they got out of the way. So that's one of the small points that we're working through here in the last hours.
Okay, and Bob, maybe, I don't know if this is a question for you, but and probably the Towson folks as well. Now that once you sign this agreement with College Park and with the Towson, when do you expect that to be rolled out or families to start hearing from you all?
Immediately. So we
Okay.
will actually, Towson, when they released theirs, they did a press release, and we had gads of students lined up before we had the clear communications between Residence Life and the property managers. But we got all that corrected within 24 hours. And I was hoping we'd have a little bit more heads up, but we roll with the punches. And by the way, I got to let you know, my 3.5-year-old grandson attends daycare on University of Maryland College Park campus. And he goes in.
CYC. What's his name? My kids go to
Benji Brennan.
Do you know which room?
No,
Blue?
no. He doesn't give out details.
I have 2 kids at CYC, so I'm just wondering if they're playing.
But I want you to know, those kids go in the morning with their masks on. They come out with their masks off. And we picked Benji up one day. And it's like, Benji, do you want to take your mask off? And he was like, nope. It's amazing how a 3.5-year-old has no problem keeping a mask on. And I also want to compliment Daryl Pines, because my son obviously lives in College Park, and the early on back in March, when I heard Daryl Pines was going around to the bars talking to the students and handing out face masks, I saw the kind of action that you want to see out of a president to create a safe environment. And you really need to be applauded for the attitude you brought to this issue. And I'll tell you, it's been a long, hard slug, but a lot of people doing the right thing are going to make this work.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob.
All right, well, I appreciate those comments. Any other questions for this panel? I'm glad that this committee hearing was able to turn into something happy and some good news. And that's a testament to you all and you getting this together here and working together. So just a final thank you for getting that together. We'll look forward to receiving the final signed agreement, which I guess will be here in the next week. With that, if there's nothing else for the good of the order, we'll thank you all and we'll be in touch.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays.